Oh, yes, and a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It's Monday morning, the 28th day of January, 2019. And so, off to work we go. Yes, sirree. Good to see that you folks are with us this morning. I certainly hope that you had a fabulous weekend. You can tell that I did if you were watching the program yesterday. You probably saw that I went gallivanting on Saturday afternoon and had fun, actually, had fun. This is such a beautiful little island, such a beautiful little island. I just wish we had a deeper appreciation for what we've got. Hey, times change, and maybe the day is coming when we will really, really see the beauty of this place and stop going at each other's throats, huh? I haven't seen anybody out there yet on Facebook this morning, but I would imagine they're going to be popping up gradually, eventually. But I'm going to take a look at the rundown for this morning's program. Oh boy, yeah, we got some text for, hey, here they come, here they come, here they come. Sharon is saying good morning. Sharon Elizabeth Roberts Wilshire, SERW. And Veronica Sandy is saying good morning as well. Thank you, folks, for being the early birds this morning. Good to see you, as always. You're just in time for the rundown. I have an article which I published last night on the GrenadaBroadcast.com website, written by Mr. William Joseph. Willie is a policy analyst, and it is captioned "The Gratuity Crisis. Oh, it's crying time again." Interesting article, and that's why I chose to share it with you this morning on today's program. Interesting. Then, of course, we do have the national report, and you'll have to see what they have to say. Whatever it is they say this morning is what was said on Friday evening last. And then, I have a little presentation for you. It's about the public seeing through the rhetoric about the secondary school games. You know, I mentioned on the weekend that there's an article that was written by our good friend, one of our usual suspects on Mekwee Chat, Beverly Sinclair. And she had published an article on Facebook which sparked quite a lot of reaction. And so I invited her to be on yesterday's program to sort of expand on what she was writing about or had written about. And I thought, let me try and get a couple of other people to join us. Another of our usual suspects, a lady by the name of Margaret Francis, whom I imagine will be showing up here sometime very shortly. She is a very astute and very keen observer on things that are happening here, even though she lives in New York. And she was on the program as well. And we were joined by a social commentator, whom everybody here knows, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Brian Pitt. Well, these folks got into a conversation yesterday morning, and I found it so interesting listening to that. You know, I sort of took a back seat and let them bung away. It was interesting. And so I'm not going to be able to play the whole thing this morning, but I will play a part of yesterday's trialogue, if you will, since there were three of them. We'll play that for you after you have listened to the national report. Okay? But first things first, let me get to we're going to get to Willie Joseph's story first, but I see we've now been joined by Lincoln Roberts saying, "Good day, George. My day starts with you. Thanks to my beautiful, thanks to my beautiful sister Sharon. You truly make my day. Thank you, Lincoln. Hurry up and send her back home. Send her, deport her. No, it would be nice to have Sharon sitting right here next to us, wouldn't that? Of course it would be. So good to see you, Lincoln. She's been making a sort of an addict out of you, hasn't she? Well, I hope that you in turn will make addicts out of some of the Grenadian diaspora out there in Florida. So let's get to Willie Joseph's story. It's captioned, "Oh, it's crying time again." And I'm going to quote now because he's got this written in different parts, different sections. First, the context. General election results produce two immediate effects. That is, the composition of the Parliament and the appointment of a cabinet of ministers, the executive. Whereas the Constitution empowers the Parliament to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of Grenada, it does not detail the role of cabinet, except in the phrase, "the business of government." It is a matter, therefore, of common sense law that the cabinet, in its policy-making function and general decision-making, must issue policies and decisions that promote the peace, order, and good government of Grenada. Agreed? The popular notion of government having power is effectively constrained and conditioned by that standard. This means that citizens reasonably expect that the cabinet, in discharging its functions, will do nothing capable of disturbing and compromising the peace, order, and good governance of Grenada. Curiously, not all members of cabinet appear to understand the limitations of their exercise of power. Perhaps we need a well-taught cabinet. One does not envision the Ministry of Education taking the lead there. Good government exists where the policies and conduct of the cabinet promote the national interests, respect the rights of citizens, promote the welfare of all the citizens, treat the people well and with decency, preserve the culture of the people, and is not abusive or discriminatory or arbitrary, as examples. This is the test by which the government's policy on gratuity is to be subjected. The standard is breached where the tone, conduct, advocacy, and policy are such that people find the cabinet to be high-handed, abusive, and reckless. This appears to be precisely what we are experiencing with the gratuity crisis. The ability to pay. Every employer is entitled to consider her compensation policy in the light of the financial status of the enterprise. The same is true for the government of Grenada and its fiscal position, that is, the state of public finances, is important in this respect. Any country which has had to undergo 2 structural adjustment programs in 20 years shows instability in the public finances of crisis proportions. Simply put, the Grenada Treasury has run broke at least twice in the recent past. The discipline intended by the Fiscal Responsibility Act must therefore be good news for all citizens who have suffered when the Treasury could not pay the bills incurred by the Cabinet. Significantly, however, whereas the Act restricts spending on wages and salaries in the public sector to under 9% of the GDP, it does not similarly or at all restrict government spending on social programs. This means that the government appears to have a blank check to spend as it pleases on social programs. Remember that Grenada only has one treasury, so that if expenditure on wages and salaries could induce instability into the public finances, the same must be true of the level of spending on social programs or debt servicing, etc. Actually, debt servicing is covered under the Act. The record would show that payment of gratuity in the public sector was never a significant factor behind the need for a structural adjustment program in Grenada. Other kinds of expenditure approved by cabinets have led to the collapse of the public finances. Prime Minister Mitchell would know that to be true. Lastly, a much poorer Grenada than is Grenada today, with record overall surpluses, paid gratuity for decades. Governments have simply budgeted for such expenditure. Now, the role of the gratuity. Public officers in Grenada have never been highly paid in comparison to many other working class citizens. The gratuity is not an addition to pensions. It is a portion of one's pension benefits paid up front as a lump sum. Why has this allowance been available to public officers since colonial days? The answer lies in good conscience, common sense, and an understanding of the need to genuinely empower. The fact is that having worked for small salaries until retirement age, and during which time the monthly salary was consumed, leaving the worker with little or no savings, the authorities understood that the only way some relief might be had is if the worker was given part of his pension benefits as a lump sum. In other words, gratuity. The gratuity enabled him to clear up his most onerous personal debt. In our culture, that debt has been the mortgage. So, paying the gratuity enabled the settlement of the mortgage in particular. When that happens, the retiree becomes an owner. He will never become an owner where he must continue to service a mortgage long after retirement. In such circumstances, the burden will fall on his successors. Sadly, thousands of working class children will have nothing to inherit from their parents. All of this in a Grenada that has the fastest growing economy in the region. Now, denial of gratuity. Ownership is a major cultural, social, and economic value in the Grenadian society. Note also that the gratuity payment cannot be peppercorn. It must be effective, meaning that it must be capable of clearing up the mortgage in order that the working class could join the owning class. All comrades would identify with that. Recall the situation after emancipation and continuing into the era of the estate system. The free slave and his successor, that is, the estate laborer, recognized that owning property was not an option for most of them. However, they had enough foresight to realize that if they sent their children to school, they would be able to own. So, the formula was learn, earn, own. Non-payment of a gratuity amounts to killing the emancipation dream. It is a serious breach of a major cultural value. It is unpardonable in the absence of compensatory arrangements. After all, people expect government to resolve their most basic problems, not to inflict injustice or unfairness of any kind. The development mandate. Every government has a duty to promote the development of its citizens. Governments also have a duty to provide for the poor and vulnerable in our society. Be clear, however, that providing for the poor is about maintenance, enabling the working class to own is about development. A modern society is measured positively not by its level of poverty, but by the nature and standard of development. The government of Grenada could invent as many social welfare programs as it pleases and spend freely to implement them. But none of that spending addresses investment or ownership or development. To that extent, the Grenadian society cannot be said to be better off. Such spending cannot produce Grenadian golden geese. Conclusion. Winning all 15 seats may be considered a perfect victory, but it does not set up a perfect government. It is entirely possible for a cabinet to misdirect itself, especially where it proceeds based on a perceived need to project absolute power. The situation is worsened, and the circle of disruption and instability is widened, where, instead of making itself available for a peaceful resolution of the dispute as a matter of urgency, baiting confrontation is seemingly preferred. The invention of a cabinet of teachers or a secondary school games outfit cannot be evidence of reconciliation. above all, introducing and perpetuating a spirit of exclusive power does not qualify as a standard of correct leadership. Huffing and puffing was for a time long gone. We need leadership that causes the society to be lifted up. Until then, it's crying time again. Wow. Okie doke, folks. There you have it. That is the text of an opinion piece which was published on GRENADABROADCAST.com last night. Boy, you guys are busy out there this morning. Really, really busy on Facebook. Let me pay a visit. So we've already said hi to Sharon and Veronica Sandy. I think we've also said hi to Lincoln. Jude Francis is saying good morning. So is Fitzroy Adams saying let's give thanks to see another day. Boy, first thing I did this morning. John from parish number 7 is stepping on board. Sharon says it is sad, but this government does not understand that they are to serve the people. Soon after elections, they forgot how they begged for our vote and became superior beings who treat the people like crap. Then 5 years later, they once again become humble. They are all hypocrites. Lawrence Kruthoff, hello there, Lawrence. I think he's in England, if I'm not mistaken. Says, good morning to all. I'm watching and listening to you from a very cold Tower Bridge in London. I was correct. He's out there in London. Hey, Lawrence, enjoy the cold for me. You know, I'm hoping that in the not too distant future I'll be able to come on back up to, I've done it twice, go on back up to London and do the Sunday program. We've done that a couple of times, and boy, it was really, really fun. Looking forward to doing that again. Lydia James is saying good morning, and every time you wear a shirt, you look so different. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can understand what you're saying because I'm not a shirt person. I'm a golf shirt person. Polo shirt, yeah. Not even t-shirts, you know. Especially those with certain colors on them. Peter Bishop is saying good morning to you, George, and the rest of the class from Brooklyn, New York, where it's 23 degrees Celsius. Huh. Nice. 23 degrees Celsius? Are you sure? Boy, you guys are really, really lucky. And he says, nice piece by Valerie Gordon. Valerie Gordon? Did I read something by? No, I don't think I read anything by Valerie Gordon this morning. Anyhow. Ashton Fletcher is also saying good morning. Carla Ray Briggs. Hello, Carla. Carla Ray Angela Briggs. Saying morning blessings to you, Geo Bear, and to Cher, and to everyone else. She's saying hi to Sharon Roberts. And she says, but it's the fault of the people to bow and scrape before those we elect to take care of our business. You know, Carla, I can't tell you how many times that's been said on this program, on the Sunday program. Yeah, we are being abused as a people. Abused. But somehow we just cower and take it. Cower and take it. But what I fear is what I'm sensing on the ground. I don't have an automobile, so I walk a lot, or I take bus to go wherever I go. That exposes me to a lot of people, okay? And what I'm hearing on the ground, not very good news. Not very good news. I fear where we're headed. I say fear tongue-in-cheek because I do believe in God, and I do believe that He will deliver us. Okay. Let me see what else here. What else here? Lydia James says it's 17 in Canada. I'm not sure if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. Veronica Sandy says 26 degrees in Brooklyn. Very cold day. And Peter Bishop says, enjoy, Lydia James. Did my fare already. Okay, whatever. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's 26 minutes after the hour. Take a little break. We'll come right back with the National Report.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us
as we energize our Spice Island.
Redleg, energizing our Grenada.
Labukan Creative Center, in association with Spice Basket, presents Mayhem in Paradise.
All the time I man you complaining I never had a steady job. Now I get an opportunity to get a permanent one. And woman, you acting up? I acting up? Yes, and you know why I didn't tell you, man? It's because of your stupid attitude, man.
My stupid attitude?
Yes.
You come this early morning pulling cutlass at me, right?
It's a play by Francis Uriah Peters, together with a nostalgic folk musical journey, plus the Tivoli drummers at Spice Basket, Wednesday, February 6th. Tickets from Grenadian Optical and Kittens Drug Mart at $40 each. Children 12 and under, $25 at the door. It's a special independence production of drama, folk music, and dance, produced by Uriah Peters, Wednesday, February 6th at Spice Basket, 8:30 p.m.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
National Health Insurance awaits government approval on health services recommended by the UWI Health Unit. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the National Report for Friday, January 25th, 2019, I am Sharian Noel. Now that the package has been submitted by UWI's Health Economic Unit, the National Health Insurance is awaiting approval from government on the services that will be offered under the National Health Insurance. That's according to Ms. Claudette James, project head of the National Health Insurance. She was addressing a ceremony Friday to unveil the NHI logo.
To date, UE has completed and submitted to the government the benefit package, the group of health services that will be included in the NHI package. We now await approval from government on the acceptance of this proposal. They have completed the organizational and governance structure for the NHI. This was submitted to Cabinet, and to date, I can say that Cabinet has approved one of the models they submitted, which was a model that the NHIS or the NHI will become a department within the NIS. So you'd have the Board of Directors of the National Insurance Board, you'd have a Deputy Director of the NHI, you'd also have a Deputy Director of the NIS. So that has been approved by Cabinet.
The UWI team of consultants also conducted a macroeconomic study to ascertain feasibility and sustainability of the NHI project.
Currently, they are working on the revenue generation options, which is trying to determine how an NHI will be financed. They have also conducted working capacity development, and this is training and advising the key persons as to how an NHI works and how it will be administered. Today, they have conducted training with the staff of the Secretariat, the NIB, and various ministries. They have also conducted sensitization sessions with some of our key stakeholders, such as the social partners, including the TUC, the Chamber of Commerce, the PS and staff of the Ministries of Health, Social Development and Finance, and they also met and conducted sessions with the Board of Directors of the NIB.
The NHI is a compulsory health financing program that aims to provide health care coverage for all Grenadians. The Morris Bishop International Airport has received an ambulance for the Crash Fire Rescue Department that will help in its efforts to maintain its Category 9 status. And even while this was being handed over, General Manager of the Airports Authority, Mrs. Wendy Frances Williams, promised the upgrade will continue to ensure the status is maintained.
We are also going to hand over in the future, near future, this year, another fire truck as well. That fire truck will come before the end of this year. We've already ordered the fire truck, it's being built, and that in itself will also tighten that requirement by ICAO for us to meet that Category 9 status.
Tourism Minister Dr. Clarice Modest-Cowan commended the authority for the strides it continues to make, even with the limited resources.
ICAO has been visiting us, and they have been looking at what we do and how we do it and what we have. And while you may have excelled in certain areas, certainly this would have been one of the shortcomings. And I'm happy to also hear that you plan to add another fire truck to the fleet. So you are following the, as I said, the guidelines, but I think you're doing more than that. You're showing that you're concerned about life, because as I said, they can demand what they want. But if we don't care about our people, and if we don't manage our fundings, our finances, our revenues, we will find that we still cannot achieve.
Grenada's new permanent representative to the Organization of American States has reaffirmed her country's commitment to working in close partnership with OAS member states to build resilience, advance social development, and collectively transform the economies of the hemisphere. Ms. Yolande Smith was at the time presenting her credentials to the Secretary General of the OAS, Mr. Louis Almagro. Restating Grenada's commitment to build a stronger OAS, Ms. Smith said, "We believe in the principles that foster the maintenance of strong institutions, good governance, respect for rule of law, and the promotion of human dignity." She added that Grenada shares with the OAS an abiding dedication to transform the organization into an effective and relevant collective body that helps to deliver a brighter future to our hemisphere with more rights for more people. Secretary General Almagro highlighted Ambassador Smith's broad service in the public sector and knowledge of multilateral diplomacy. He further noted that having Ambassador Smith among us underscores Grenada's commitment to gender parity in representation. With her arrival, 4 of Grenada's 8 representatives have been women. Ms. Smith also serves as Grenada's ambassador to the United States. Grenada was the first Eastern Caribbean country to join the OAS shortly after independence in 1974. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
We are back with you to continue the work. We need you. to improve all Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique. On the road to national sustainable development. We're back.
So how can we invest more in the sporting arena to bridge that gap for a lot of young people?
I think there should be more forums like this.
We need to find a way in which to combat that. Now,
join us for the next National Sustainable Development Plan 2035 Contributors Forum at Wesley College, January 28th, 7 p.m.
Welcome back. Grenada and its CARICOM partners have agreed that an urgent meeting should be sought with United Nations Secretary General to request the UN's assistance in resolving the continued crisis in Venezuela. The country's political crisis appears to be reaching boiling point amid growing efforts by the opposition to unseat the socialist president Nicolas Maduro. A video conference meeting of CARICOM heads and foreign ministers, in which Grenada was represented by the Honorable Peter David, reiterated that the crisis can only be resolved peacefully through meaningful dialogue and diplomacy. In this regard, heads offered their good offices to facilitate dialogue among all parties to resolve the deepening crisis and called on external forces to refrain from doing anything to destabilize the situation. And finally, there is now an identity to the National Health Insurance. The NHI's logo was unveiled on Friday, which the team hopes will become the face of a fully established and functional National Health Insurance program in Grenada. Communications Officer with the NHI, Abigail McIntyre, gave a review of the concept and the selection process.
The designs were judged on the following simple guidelines. The logo should communicate health, simplicity, and professionalism. It must be the original work of the entrant or student, and the design can be text, a symbol, or a combination of both text and symbol. I must say a special thank you to the judges, Mr. Wayne Green of Sign Experts, Mr. Dwayne Noel, Information Technology Manager of the National Insurance Board, Mrs. Lydia Phillip Jones from the Ministry of Health, and NHI's project head, Ms. Claudia James.
The school's category of the competition was won by Preston High of Laborie Mennonite School, while Trail St. Charles won the general category. The winners were presented with their prizes by Project Chair Claudia James and Director of the National Insurance Scheme Dorset Cromwell, respectively. Now for a recap of the top story. Health insurance awaits government approval on health services recommended by UWI Health Unit. On behalf of the entire news team, I am Sharian Noel.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing.
A commemorative postage stamp.
So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
With free island-wide delivery, Hubbard's Building Supplies and Lumber Departments continue to provide the best quality lumber, steel, tiles, plumbing materials, electrical, and general hardware supplies at competitive prices. We continually consult with builders, homeowners, and contractors to improve product range and services. Enjoy discounts where applicable, including the use of credit and debit cards. At Hubbard's Building Supplies, Grandance, and Lumber Department, Caranage, we offer quality service, affordable prices, giving you the convenient, reliable, free island-wide delivery. Call 440-2087 for all your home improvement and building solutions.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
You know, folks, you probably saw there that we've gotten more ambulances. I'm sure many of you remember that not too long ago we were crying out in this place, we don't have ambulances, don't have ambulances. Then we got a bunch of scooters, which whatever happened to them? Are they still around? Hey, speaking about ambulances, there goes one right now. So with all these ambulances pouring in here, I hope that one of these days out here, well, boy, do we have ambulances for so now. It's good, and I'm thankful to the countries who have donated. While you were listening to the report there from the GIS, Peter Bishop posted a couple of comments here. He says, first of all, health insurance is serious business, nothing to rush into. I'm watching carefully. It may be a good idea to ask Canada for support in this regard. Good idea, Peter. Then he goes on to say here, our foreign service no longer a serious area. Friendship is the order of the day for appointment. Yeah. Folks, I'll tell you what. Time to move on now to our little feature this morning. I mentioned to you that what I'd actually be bringing you this morning is an excerpt from the program yesterday where we had Beverly Sinclair, Brian Pitt, and Margaret Francis discussing the comments that were made by good friend, the Minister of Education, recently about the cancellation of Intercall and the hopeful implementation of the Grenada secondary school games. So a lot of interesting stuff was said. Unfortunately, I'm not able to bring you the whole thing this morning, but I think you're going to get about 22 minutes, and I want you to listen carefully. Listen carefully to the things that are being said. Here we go.
I wrote that article because I have observed that the Ministry of Education decided to stage a substitute meet, I call it, for Intercall. The Principals Association announced that due to the high level of volunteerism from teachers, which caused Intercall to happen, and that being withdrawn this year, it's going to be impossible to stage the event, and so the decision was taken to cancel. And for those listening to this broadcast, it is interesting that Intercall was not the only event cancelled for those reasons. Every year, the schools have several sporting activities, cross-country, netball, football, volleyball, cricket, various sporting activities that involves athletes, various different type of athletes. Track athletes are not the only athletes that need exposure and need attention. So I looked at this situation where the minister was very quick, days after the Principals Association sent out that release. The minister was ready to respond. And I listened to the response, and my response to her response was, "Come on, Minister Pierre, what is happening here?" And let me put some things on the discussion right up front. First of all, we are led by a government, not a political party. And this is something I think we who speak publicly need to keep drilling in the heads of people, because we have adopted a culture where a political party is seen as the government, and it's not. People are elected from a particular party to form the government. And once that is done, the political party is not supposed to have any sway, because the government belongs to the entire country, not to the party. But far too often we see party politics getting into the governing and governance of the country. You have to belong to the party or support the party to get jobs, to get promotions, to get contracts, to get certain benefits, as if the resources of the country belong to the party. It doesn't. It belongs to the people. And the people of the country need to recognize that every single dime in the treasury belongs to the taxpayers. Even if it's money which is borrowed, it still belongs to the taxpayers. We probably have to pay it back. It's coming out of our pockets to pay it back. So we need to stop allowing those elected to serve to behave as if the country belongs to the party and the resources of the country belong to the party, and because of that they can use it for party favors and to do whatever they want. And these thoughts came through my head as I was there listening to the minister, and I'm like, so who did the Ministry of Education meet with to decide that having this substitute meet was something that could step in to fill the gap from intercol not happening? And from what I have uncovered, there were not discussions with organizations to say, let's do this as there will be no intercol. The first discussion should have been with the Principals Association. But since this whole impasse began with the teachers, the elected officials of the country, aka the government, as we will call it for this discussion, the government has just been very antagonistic towards the principals, towards the teachers in general. And I believe, and this is my strong opinion, that because of this antagonism with the teachers, which began from last year when the teachers decided to demand certain things that they were promised, gratuity and pensions and the restoration of these, and on top of that, the docking of the pay and all of these things that cause this animosity between the teachers and their employer. I believe because of that, the ministry didn't bother to have a meeting with the Principals Association to say, what's happening, guys? Intercol is a big thing. We don't want to just cancel it. No. The high-handed approach was taken. The arrogant approach was taken. Oh, you don't want to do intercol? Well, we will do it. And I'm just sick of it, George. I'm really sick and tired of this kind of lack of leadership from the people who are supposed to be leading the country. We are having a serious leadership crisis, not just in Grenada, but right across the Caribbean. A very, very serious crisis in leadership, because those who sit in positions from where they are supposed to lead seem not to have a grasp or an understanding of what their role is supposed to be. They seem to lack the basic tenets. that are supposed to make someone become a leader, someone that sets proper example, someone that points in the right direction, someone who is there to cool fires, not to fuel them. And I don't see the Ministry of Education taking that role. I see the Ministry of Education seeking to further polarize and set people against people instead of trying to bring some sense into what is already a very, very antagonistic situation. Why would you, as the minister and as the ministry, in the midst of everything that is happening, because Intercol is not an isolated case, the cancellation of Intercol did not happen in a vacuum. So why did you, in the midst of all that, believe that this solution is to come and say, oh, we'll have a substitute meet? Right away, you are setting up students against teachers, parents against teachers, because there is going to be a further divide. And you know that, she knows that. There is going to be a further divide around this substitute event because there will be those who will support it and those who will not. And is that what you want? Is that a solution? So you get up on one hand and say, oh, we can do it too. And further polarize a polarized nation. So that is one aspect of it. And the burning aspect for me is the lack of leadership that is in this situation, and not just situation, but in general. But since we're dealing with this situation, we'll focus on it. The lack of leadership in the situation from the employers, the teachers. And I know there are people out there who will jump up on the union and say the unions and whatever. But the unions are made up of a group of people who are employed by the ministry. In this case, we're talking about the Ministry of Education. It's their employer. So if you work in an organization and you are not happy about something, do you expect your employer to draw a sword and confront you and say, okay, you're not happy about this, let's fight to the finish. Last man alive will remain standing. That's not how you who are supposed to be in a position of leadership is supposed to take on a situation and deal with it. I have serious issues with that. I have serious problems with that. And I believe it is wrong. I believe even if there was any good intention for this substitute, it's overshadowed by the attitude and arrogance and the wrong messages that are being sent. So what good can come out of it? Any good that can come out of it is not going to shine.
Let's talk Intercol. I was an athlete at one point, Beverly, and I think Intercol is more important now to the athletes than in my time. Reason? It's an opportunity for these kids to get scholarships. By the performance at Intercol, a lot of our athletes who are now in the diaspora, further in their education, I believe got the opportunity through their performance in Intercol. So it's not a light event. It's not just an event that takes place every year for 3 days. It's an opportunity for young people to further their education by good performance. And we should not lose track of that. And I don't know that taking it as lightly as we are taking it is giving credence to these athletes who are waiting for this opportunity. Those athletes who are about to leave school, for example, who want to have an opportunity to perform well in front of the coaches and or the scouts that might be here. We know, for example, that you are familiar with the Jamaica situation. Champs in Jamaica is an excellent opportunity for all these young people to get access to universities outside of Jamaica. And I think we have to be very, very we have to be very serious about how we approach this subject, about just having Intercol for having Intercol's sake. That's what I want to offer at this point, Beverly.
Yes, I hear you. And one of the things, while Intercol is seen as an opportunity for athletes to get this kind of exposure, which could lead to scholarships. It is also a fact, and Brian could bear me out on this, that some of these scouts will not even be here, except there is an athlete which is making an impression enough to be noticed from outside of Grenada. And if this is happening, then some scout will say, well, I've been hearing about, say the athlete's name is Brian Pitt. I've been hearing about Brian Pitt. He's been posting good times. This event is happening. Let's go down to Grenada and look at him to see what he has to offer on the track. But the scouts don't just come here because Interpol is happening. Something has to attract them to bring them here, because it's not just Grenada. This is a worldwide search that they are doing. So they don't just go to places willy-nilly. They have to have a reason. Something has to draw them. Just like when Kirani was doing well, it drew them here. They came here, they looked at him, and they liked what they saw, and the rest is history. So for Intercall to happen in a vacuum, it will not serve that purpose. It wouldn't.
Margaret?
Yeah, hi everybody. I agree pretty much with what Brian and Beverly has said. And I mean, it's really a sad and unfortunate situation that it has come to this. And what I think is pretty ironic about it is that the people who have taken this decision are the same ones who are talking about caring about the students' welfare. In my opinion, if you really do care about people, then you would seek a holistic solution to a problem and not simply say, this is it, take it or leave it. It just doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. I want to just simply go back to December, because that has been bothering me. Why would you want to deduct salaries from teachers in the middle of December when we're approaching Christmas? And the only answer that I can come up with, Beverly and Margaret, is that I do it because I could.
Yes.
Yes. And that is sad. That is sad because, you know, I ask myself the question, who or what is a teacher? I think we all know this person who is teacher in our lives, who have helped us form who we are. Whether it's our interpersonal skills, whether it's our life skills, we remember them for some reason. And I think we are underestimating the importance of the teacher to our children, our parents, and our guardians. In today's world, or should I say today's Grenada, where there are more single parents doing 2 and 3 jobs, a teacher is most important person in the child's life for the majority of their school term. And until and unless we can come to grips with that, I don't believe that we can approach the solution to this thing in a reasonable manner. Ladies?
You know what is ironic about the docking of the pay? You talk about how much you care about the students, but you take away money from the people who help the students. You take away money from people who help to buy books for these students you say you care about. You take away money from the people who help to buy lunch and give bus fare to these children that you say you care so much about. So how do you care about these children so much and go and cut off a source of assistance, a critical source of assistance, I must say, because teachers will attest that there are many parents who, for whatever reason, will send child to school and expect the teacher to find them breakfast, to find them a pencil to write with, to find them a book. The child wakes up and says, Mommy, I don't have any exercise book. Go on to school, teacher will give you. You see? And you cut off from those teachers the very source that they can use to assist these children. And then you want to come and claim that you care and love these children so much that you must have a substitute intercall games. And that is supposed to make sense to thinking people.
Yeah, you know, and to add to what Bev was saying, in addition to all those sacrifices, I think another thing that we also overlook in terms of the sacrifices that teachers already make, you know, from their resources, the impact it has on their families. Actually, I was talking to a friend of mine um, on this particular situation, and she was saying she remembered as a child because her mom was a teacher, just how much time she didn't get to spend with her mother either. Because when the mother came home, she also had to prepare lesson plans and all that good stuff. So there is really no time to spend with your own children and your family. So there is also that sacrifice that we also seem to forget when we speak about the sacrifices that teachers make, the impacts on their families as well. And sometimes they even rope their families in to do things for their classes. So this affects people all round. And trying to say it's them versus us, it's really unconscionable. There's really no other way to describe it.
Exactly.
Ladies, I want to raise an interesting point here. Is this an attempt to polarize teachers? We live in a polarized society where it's either green or yellow. And basically what we're saying by this attempt to have a sports meet is that the teachers who are supporting a particular party will be there, and those who are not will not. Is this an attempt to polarize the teachers? And this can't be good if it is.
No. And that is why I talked about how much we need to separate this whole party politics from the governing of the country. Because you talk about polarized green and yellow, right now it's polarized green or nothing. If you're not supporting green, you're nothing. You saw? Because I don't know where yellow, it has faded into the sunset. So it's green or nothing. And because of that, you try to use the resources of the state, the resources that belong to all the people of the country. You try to use it to divide and to separate and to play an advantage for you, or to play what you consider an advantage for you, for your own political interests, and not for what is the good of the country at this point in time. And it cannot be the good of the country at this point in time to be polarizing the very young in the generation, to be putting students against teachers, to be putting it in the minds of the students that your teacher don't care about you, that's why they're not having intercall. It's wrong. It's wrong, and it is dishonest.
Yeah, I agree with you, Beverly. It's wrong and dishonest, but that's the nature of the beast, and that is it's sad that we have gotten to this point in this negotiation. But again, we are doing it because we can. And
Yes.
The last time I looked, a large percentage of this population, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about 40% of the people did not vote green. Whether they abstained or voted for the other party, that's a large percentage of the population. And I think it's up to the government in power to try to please as many people as possible. And this attempt to put the teachers, the students, and the parents against the teachers can't be right.
Right. And I'm glad you raised that point, Brian, and I really want to reinforce it because it's a point I raised myself. The party which forms the government currently did so by winning, 51% of the votes, which means 49% voted for somebody else. And you still have another larger percentage of the population which did not vote at all. So to say you got a majority, you have to put the majority in context of those who turned out to vote. Because a percentage of the registered voters turned out to vote, a percentage of those voted for you, another percentage voted for someone else, and the larger percentage are either not yet qualified to vote or they just didn't choose to vote. So you are not there because the majority of the country decide that we're voting for you. You are there simply because it's a numbers game, and those who came out to vote were X amount, and of that X, the larger part of the X voted for you. And that is fine. That's the system we have. But once you have won that election, you need, and we, and not just those who are placed in positions of authority now, but the rest of the population need to wake up and get up and say, look, we cannot have the country being run by a political party. The country needs to be run by the people who are elected to form the government, and they are supposed to be a government for the people, not a government for a political party. And that is the crux of the problem that we have, and that is why we have such a serious, critically serious crisis in leadership, because no longer are people required to lead. You're just required to belong to a party and you can do whatever you want.
Now, do you understand why I said to you a few minutes ago, please listen carefully? A lot was said there. And I'll tell you one thing, I'm optimistic that more and more people are listening. And if that trend continues, I can guarantee you, you're going to see change in this place. You will see change. While you were listening to that, oh, by the way, I noticed that some of you came online just towards the end of that piece. Obviously, you missed most of it. It's about 22 minutes long. And I'd like to suggest that after the program, you go to Facebook and you can replay the interview. Scroll forward as much as you have to. And failing that, you can also check us out on YouTube later on today. Okay? Now, there's a comment that came in here from Sharon Elizabeth Roberts, Wiltshire. She said, Beverly is giving the minister too much credit by assuming that she knows anything. These people can't think for themselves. They are towing the line taken by the Prime Minister. And hey, as I speak to you, she's just posted something else. Says, talking about the majority vote, we should also take into consideration the many voter irregularities. Huh? Yeah. Okay, folks, that's going to do it. One little break, and then we'll come back and wrap it up right after this. Alrighty, folks, this is where we are. Going to pull the curtain down. Please forgive me. I've run 10 minutes over time. Send the bill to me, okay? As always, let's part with something inspirational from the Holy Scriptures. Today's reading, to wrap it up, comes from Ephesians chapter 4, 29 to 32. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, bawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 to 32. Pilgrims, on that note, Georgie Porgy is going to go feed his face. I got to tell you something. Let me show you this. Don't get jealous, right? Friend just popped in here. Take a look at that. You know what that is? I haven't had breakfast yet. You know I don't usually eat brekkie before coming on the air here, right? Friend just popped in here with a bag of bread nut. There goes Georgie Porgy's breakfast. You go do your work, okay? And by God's grace, we'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9.